This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 115 of the Healthy Critters Radio on the Horse Radio Network. Healthy Critters Radio is brought to you by BioStar US. Find them online at biostarus.com.
On today's show, we talk with Lizzy Meyer, an intuitive health consultant for dogs and horses, about using various Ayurvedic oil combinations. We have some suggestions for helping dogs with thunderstorms. In critter nutrition, we focus on soil microorganisms. And in Coffee Klatch, we ask, what superpower or magical quality would you give your horse or dog? Listen in. I'm Tigger.
And I'm Patty.
And I'm Coach Jen, producer of this here circus. Welcome back to Healthy Critters Radio. Quiz question today. Ding, 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 ding.
Uh-oh.
See, pre-show, we're chatting about what's going to happen on a given episode. If Tigger and Patty aren't right on it and have enough to fill the time, I come up with something.
Yeah, we like that.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you were a little
Sometimes.
kid. If you walked over on a Saturday afternoon and you walked up to your mom and you'd say, I'm bored. Mom would come up with
Yeah.
something for you to do, wouldn't she?
Yes. Clean your room.
Yeah, so mine always had something to do with a toothbrush in the bathroom on the floor. So, okay. I'm not bored. I swear, Jen, I'm not bored. So go ahead. Ask Tigger the question.
Okay, this is our
I
quiz
just want to
question.
hear.
Again, pre-show, we need to have a special pre and post show episode available for folks. We were chatting a little bit and catching up, and Tigger mentioned that one of her dogs was bitten by a snake. He's fine. Don't panic, everybody. But that got me to thinking about emergency kits for dogs, cats, horses, people. And especially since as we record this episode, the east coast of the United States is being pummeled by Hurricane Isaias. So Tigger and Patty. Tigger is going to go first.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you've got emergency kit, emergency supplies. Do you have an emergency kit that just lives with you? Do you have separate ones for separate types of emergencies? Do you gather things together periodically and then they gradually dissipate and then you need to do it again?
All of the above.
Random crapshoot, huh?
Yeah.
I have
Wow,
one
that was-
cabinet in the kitchen that is emergency supplies, whether it's bandages, homeopathics that I can give a dog or a horse for, while I wait for a vet.
Mhm.
It's bandage scissors. It's,
So you have sort of a more generic for all of the pets kit that lives in the cabinet.
yes, it's for all the pets and the humans. And 2 or 3 of my really big go-tos are Bach Flower Rescue Remedy. Always have that on hand for stress. And Manuka honey and colloidal silver, because you can basically treat most wounds, at least initially, with that. And I always have poultices on hand, always, for the humans and the animals. And whenever I see a sale for vet wrap, man, I mean, I've got boxes of that
Yep.
stuff.
Yeah, because when you need vet wrap, you don't need a roll of vet wrap.
No, never. You always need many.
Yeah, when you need vet
And-
wrap, you need a case of vet wrap. That's the
Yes,
way that product works. Yes.
Exactly. So I have, Peter says I have a year's supply of vet wrap. Whenever I see a sale, I buy vet wrap. And I found bandage scissors are really good to have with vet wrap. I'm not
indeed.
carrying
Oh,
it
boy.
very well. So, and then I have some basic homeopathics. And that's pretty much my emergency supply.
Alrighty. Now, Tigger or Patty, how about you? What's your system? What's your method?
Yes. Well, similar to Tigger, I have something in the house. I always have Benadryl, vet wrap, bandage stuff. I always do try to have Manuka honey on hand. I used to be much better about having colloidal silver. I learned from my friend Tigger that was a very good idea. I haven't been that good recently. But that's just like in the house. At the barn, we have the barn I'm in now. The lady who owns the barn is very, very good at being super organized with this stuff. And she has like a whole kit. Of course, there's tons of vet wrap in there, but there's like all sorts of different things. Kind of like what you were saying, Tigger, like, before the vet comes there.
Yeah.
Or gets there if they need. So, sort of the same type of stuff. Like, I always try
betadine and always good to have
betadine,
betadine on hand and what's that? Hydrogen peroxide.
Yeah, hydrogen peroxide, obviously alcohol. For horses, animal intex, which is if you get a horse with a fatter leg, it's just a how do you describe it, Tigger? It's kind of like a sheet. It looks kind of like cotton, but there's
it's poultice that's been impregnated into a leg wrap, basically, or a bandage. Yeah,
which is that's always my go-to. I always have Butte. I always have Banamine. I always have Dex on hand just in case. This is for the horses, of course. And of course, whatever anything's going on, we always contact the vet first before we administer anything, but it's always nice to just have it so you can kind of help with that. But I think I think it's safe to say, and I can't wait to hear what Jen says.
Yeah, me too.
But I think the number one thing that most people that have horses and dogs have on hand is vet wrap. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of like, if there was one thing that stuck out more than anything, like, I just always have vet wrap, because you can vet wrap so many things on a dog or a horse. So,
or a human.
Or human. Good point. So I would say my top two things that I always try to have, like,
Furazone. I always have at least one jar of Furazone.
Yep. Absolutely. Okay, Jen. So how about you? Can't wait to hear.
I have the permanent, ongoing, constantly rolling kit. For the dog, we only ever had one dog at a time. So unlike you guys who have 14 dogs a piece each,
Okay, that's being dramatic, but close. Yeah.
We didn't have a lot of kit around specifically for the dog. So the dog kind of shared the horse's emergency kit for the most part. But vet wrap always, lots, especially with Nigel, who just makes a lot of bad decisions. The usuals. One of the things I always keep, I'm not a betadine person, but I always have chlorhexidine rinse on hand all the time.
Yeah, I love chlorhexidine. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't use, betadine unless I'm specifically instructed to by the veterinarian, because it damages the living tissue and encourages scarring. So I'm not about that, because my horse makes a lot of bad decisions, and I just as soon they not show up later in life.
True.
He sticks his legs in places he shouldn't stick his legs. The one thing I do struggle with, though, is because my kit lives out of doors in Central Florida, not all medical supplies do well in the heat.
No.
So the one thing I have found, I have the Illuma spray. It's Illuma spray.
Oh,
it's the stuff that everybody uses now that the spray on Furazone is gone. But Illuma spray, I keep that out there because it will keep. It doesn't go bad sitting there in the cabinet like Manuka honey. Sorry, a week it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Get out.
Right. Yeah.
And I like having things that I don't have to go to the house for.
Gotcha.
I have extras in the house. The house is a separate kit. It's like, these are the things that are perishable. They live in the house. Always keep poultice on hand.
Yep.
And tons of bandages. Always have a box of diapers. found those are really handy.
Yeah,
to wrap the feet and stuff.
Yeah, wrap the feet. Or if you have a degloving injury, if you slather the cream-based med on the inside of the diaper and slap it over the degloving injury, you can get that sucker covered up and supported in an emergency until the vet can get there. And I found it to be very effective, because then you just throw it away because it's going to be trashed.
Right.
Versus putting a leg wrap directly over it. I learned that because I had a horse deglove his entire cannon bone one time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was exciting. And I didn't know about that. Yeah. It worked out well. The vet got him all patched up and only had a little tiny scar from it. But lesson learned, there is ice inside of snowdrifts, people. Just beware.
There's what?
There was a snowdrift, and we had sunshine. So you know how snow gets that thin layer of ice on top? Just a thin, glassy layer, and then it snowed again. And then it got sunny, a thin layer. So it was a lasagna of ice sheets inside of the snow. And he stuck his leg down through it just perfectly. And then when he took it out, kind of left the hide behind. There you go.
Wow.
So you guys keep kind of a rolling, constant, this stuff's always on hand. Is there one thing that you keep in your cabinet? We'll ask Patty this one first. Is there one thing you keep in your cabinet that you cannot give up, but you've never used?
That I've never used.
That's a good question. Well, because I feel like at home, I always try. I mean, like I was trying to, but I've never used. I'm going to say sort of a yes, but maybe not. Which is, I know, a dumb thing. At home, I always have Benadryl in a pill form and a spray form, just in case something happens to the dogs and they need Benadryl. But the reason I say kind of yes and no is I can't remember the last time I.
Oh, don't say it. Because if you do, somebody's going to eat a bee.
Yep.
Don't say it.
And I'm grateful for that.
How about you, Tigger?
I don't think so. Maybe Pepto-Bismol. I recall seeing a jar of it in there. I don't think I've ever used it, but I got it for, I guess, some reason, but I've never used it.
Interesting. See, our first greyhound was a Pepto-Bismol dog. And that was many, many years ago, but I also have Pepto-Bismol in there, and I have not used it in many a year.
Yeah, I think if I looked at the expiration date, it would be in the garbage.
Interesting. Fun. Well, fun chat, ladies.
Yes.
Fun.
And we have a really good show ahead.
We do. Coming up, we're going to be chatting with whom?
Yeah. Lizzy Meyer.
Tell me about Lizzy.
Right. Yeah.
Lizzy is a health consultant. She's an intuitive health consultant for dogs and horses, and she and I have worked together for 10 years. And I love her because she thinks out of the box and she tries things out of the box. And we kind of work together on experiments.
Cool.
Yeah. And she's been on the show before, so it's nice to have her back.
Yes, it is. And she's got great energy. So let's go get Lizzy. And I'm happy to say that we're here today with my good friend, Lizzy Meyer, who is an intuitive health consultant for dogs and horses. And Lizzy and I are like two mad scientists together. We've worked together at least for a decade, most all of it long distance. And as I find her inspiration, she finds me also an inspiration. So we start bopping ideas off of each other, and what do you know, we're down different rabbit holes, but we come up and communicate with each other about what's going on in your rabbit hole. So don't you think that's a good way to describe it, Lizzy?
That's spot on. Absolutely agree.
So if you listen to our last show, I shared my adventures with Brahmi oil. And Lizzy, who is a Healthy Critters listener, heard that and went, I think this is something I need to try. So as I was experimenting with Brahmi oil, she started experimenting with Brahmi oil. So Lizzy, what has been your experience with Brahmi oil so far?
Well, so far, I guess in the beginning, I really wasn't sure exactly what it was or what to buy. There seemed to be some, I just thought I'm going to have to experiment with this for myself. And then, of course, see if this applies to any of my animals. So I bought some from Banyan Botanicals in the coconut oil base, and I just started using it on my feet and on my scalp just after a shower. And I found that it was so cooling, and it is so darn hot here in Texas. And my itchy skin was going away. My eczema was decreasing rapidly on my finger. And I was sleeping so soundly.
Mm-hmm.
And my mind was really clear. And I really thought I wanted to think it was too good to be true, but I kept going with it every night. And I felt a little self-indulgent, honestly, massaging my feet with oil at night.
I know.
But it was amazing. And I just kept doing
amazing.
It. So, yeah, it's like you feel the heat just pouring through
out
your
of
feet.
your body. Yeah, you do.
Yeah, and it's just so soothing.
I look forward to it. After I've taken a shower at the end of the day, I'm so excited that I can sit down. Now I apply Brahmi oil to my arms, to my legs, to my knee. Not every available surface, but virtually. And the difference in the skin, in my skin, has just been like amazing.
Yeah. And then I had this opportunity, as the universe loves to give me at certain times. But I got to try it with one of my dogs he's had some chronic orthopedic issues and back issues, and was kind of in the middle of a recovery from a recent back episode that was quite severe. And he tends to run very dry in Ayurvedic speak. So he's more vata, which is that air element in the wind. And so he's a very hypersensitive dog, and very hypersensitive to pain as well. And I just had this thought, what if I, try the Brahmi oil along his spine, just a couple of teaspoons. And of course I tried it, and then I later checked my herbal references for animals, and it was perfectly fine if he, licked some of it off. And the coconut oil, I was okay with him having a little of that. But just the amount of heat that was coming off of his spine where he actually had the issue was incredible. And this is a dog that does not love body work. And I was just basically syringing this oil, kind of underneath his hair, trying to keep it sort of tidy. And I gave up quickly on that. But I just kind of he's sort of like a greased pig right now, because he's had twice a day Brahmi oil massages for about just under a week. But it's made the biggest
I love
difference.
The syringe. After Lizzy told me about this, I went, okay, I'm going to apply this to one of my dogs. What do? Pour it into my hand and rub it like it's a horse. No syringe. No.
I've since given up on the syringe.
I'm
pretty good at what does 2 teaspoons look like now. But it was so interesting because I could feel the muscular tension decreasing. He would go into this deep sleep, and he would stretch out on his side, and then he would lift his head and just start kissing me, and then just lay back down and want more. And so, and then I did another experiment by sort of accident. I was away and I didn't do it one time on one day. And this dog was so tight. His whole gait was off. It was like, oh no, what did we not do today? And I quickly I warmed up the Brahmi oil thinking if I warm it, it's going to be absorbed faster. But of course, I haven't tried this on myself yet. So I just warmed it up on the stove in a little bit of water and tested it on my wrist and then dumped it in my hand and just started massaging his back. Instant relief. And he, then he wants to go for a walk and everything's good. So that made me, want to dig into this a little bit more. And it's so well known for being an anti-inflammatory, and it's great for pain relief and good as like a nervine or a nerve tonic. Great for the brain.
Yeah.
And I was just, and then I found this piece that said, oil it means love in Sanskrit, right, Tigger?
Yep.
And so all I could think about, I wasn't thinking about healing his back or fixing anything. It was just love, just thinking about love and just going into that and just thinking about, it calms vata. It grounds all of that air and wind. And it's just so supportive for this type of healing. And, and then the other little thing I learned was to take him for a little leash walk for a few minutes after the massage. That way it would soak in a little bit better. So Finn is a big fan of Brahmi at this point.
But then you took the next step in the journey to ghee. And for our listeners, ghee is clarified butter. It's one of the very basic foods in Ayurveda. You can get it at any health food store. And ghee is used in traditional Ayurveda as a kind of carrier. So it's not uncommon that a practitioner, if you needed help with a particular plant, would have you mix it with ghee or would give you a preparation that had the herb and the ghee mixed together. So taking that as a prelude, Lizzy went on her ghee adventure.
I did. Had a very interesting ghee adventure. And this dog, thankfully, he's been used to a high-fat diet his whole life. So licking off whatever amount has been fine with him, just so the listeners know. But he, I wanted to see what would be the difference between the Brahmi oil and just plain ghee, because I wanted the Brahmi ghee, but I kind of didn't know where to look at that point. So I just warmed up some ghee that I eat, and I used literally 1 teaspoon. That's 5 mils for those who need to use a syringe. But I was amazed.
That's the vet tech in you.
That is, and it's dying. It's dying very slowly. I kind of wish it would just go, but this ghee, I mean, it felt so different than the Brahmi. It's like it soaked in even better. And it's like my fingers were gliding a little bit more along his spine and kind of in the divot between the vertebrae on top. And he definitely went into a deeper sleep with the ghee. And even though I used half the amount, he especially liked it kind of around his sacrum, and he's had issues there, and then he's had cruciate issues. This dog has had a lot of orthopedic stuff. So I kind of just rubbed the residue from my hand on the sort of areas that I know are arthritic. And I mean, it's like it moisturized him from the inside out. That he typically is one of these dry dogs that just, you can hear his joints kind of cracking and creaking and popping. especially in his back. He's been that way for a long time. He is not doing that since this oil/ghee experiment.
Wow.
It's pretty amazing. It's almost like it's hydrating. Well, it is. It's hydrating the tissues. It's soaking in and hydrating them on this other level that I definitely can't explain at this point. But I also did order a couple of other ghees, the Brahmi ghee, the same idea as the oil, but just in a ghee. And this is, you can take it orally or use it externally. And the Brahmi ghee, I'm actually feeding him a small amount, and really happy with that. And I'm trying the ashwagandha ghee because he was already taking ashwagandha. That has actually been a favorite as well, because I ran into a bit of an issue, which was Finn is always very dry and very hot. He actually was getting very, very cool. Like he wanted to be on his back on track pad, or he wanted the back on track blanket. And I thought, this is weird. He's too cool. So ashwagandha is a little bit warming. So I just started using that a little bit on his back. Totally balanced. So it's really fun because it's like an opportunity to read the dog on a different level and do something that they love. But it's not a Band-Aid. I mean, you're helping them to heal on a very deep level. And for him to continually let me do body work with him, even in this very light, intentional way, he's never allowed this. This is very, very big for Finn to allow. So he's just always been a very kind of a no touch or limited touch kind of dog. So
now you tried the ghee on a horse.
I did. You're referring to the honey and the ghee experiment? So, yes, I have one of my equine elders has a sore on his penis, actually, and I sent pictures to the vet and just said, what do we want to do with this? Because it was kind of popped up suddenly. It was more like, it really does look like a sore. And so, of course, I, cleaned his sheath. And then I thought, what am I going to put on this on such a delicate area that's not going to irritate and not going to draw bugs? And I had read about a mixture of raw honey and ghee. So I warmed up the ghee and I put the honey in there, kind of 50-50-ish. And, I just put a coating of that all over the lesion. And the next morning, this horse he's 30, and he's just like, he's nickering at me. He's looking really perky. He dropped and showed me the lesion. It's much calmer, definitely much calmer looking. No reaction around the sheath. No nothing.
Wow.
But I was concerned that, after cleaning it was going to be too dry and that would irritate the sore. So I think this combination is actually a pretty good one. So I just focused on putting it mostly on the lesion and not, just everywhere. So
how many days has he been, have you been treating him?
Kind of as he allows. So it's been a couple of times. I just watch it, and if it looks like it needs something, then I put a fine layer on it, but I'm trying not to over treat it. And I just want to give it a little bit of time, see if it keeps decreasing in size. And it's definitely less uncomfortable. So yeah, that was a definite experiment. Can't wait to tell Dad about that one. But biopsy it, freeze it, and so let me just try some stuff first, and then we'll talk about that. So he can urinate just fine.
What other applications do you think for horses is out there with ghee or with Brahmi in coconut?
Oh gosh, I think there are a lot. I need like a gallon of Brahmi oil with coconut just to experiment with the horses I have. But I feel like I'm using it on another horse who's had some chronic sacrum issues and what I think is nerve pain. And I noticed with the warm Brahmi ghee, I mean, it was like 2 tablespoons that I even used. It soaked in her skin. I mean, there was hardly a residue after just massaging it in above the sacrum. And she really seemed to like it. She was yawning and chewing a lot. So my thought is that if it can lubricate tissues, even on an energetic level, I don't understand it all the way yet. But if it can do that, and if it can soothe the nerves, I see a lot of possibilities for horses that have chronic nerve type stuff. And she's got a lot of bone spurs and things that are worse when the weather is hot and dry. I just feel like that could be an interesting use. I've only done it a few times with her, so I don't really have a conclusion yet, other than she loves it. And there are quite a few writings in that Ayurvedic veterinary text on Brahmi or Bacopa for animal use. So, I mean, there's so many possibilities with it.
Yeah, I'm wondering with feet, because we apply it to our feet.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder about applying it to the coronet band.
That'd be very interesting.
Uh-huh.
You'll have to let me know how that goes. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm thinking with dogs, I think applying it to these stifles and cruciate areas, and even the dysplasia dogs.
Yeah, I think those are all great ideas. I would just make sure it's in the coconut base, and also that the dog's used to having, they're going to lick it off. So be careful with the amount you put on, not to create an issue with that. But I mean, really, it does soak in very well. And I think it does provide, I mean, it's if nothing else, it's an opportunity to do something with your dog that they love. Mm-hmm. And that, it's one-on-one. You cannot be texting or really even handling your phone because your hands are completely oiled at the end of this. But it's I think it's great. And I'm seeing, good things with dry skin and, Finn's kind of an itchy dog, so that's decreasing. And I think it works on a level that we don't quite understand, or that I definitely don't understand at this point. But
you explained that you had eczema on a finger.
I did. And that eczema is gone. And I've been dealing with that for months with acupuncture and body work. And it's all helped. Everything has helped. Chinese herbs, they've all helped. But it would continually come back. And so after the Brahmi oil, between using it on Finn twice a day and my own feet, I just noticed my hands aren't itching and all of that eczema skin is gone, and it's just new skin growing in.
Wow.
And I am just really happy about that. So that was a real pain, especially in the heat and working with your hands.
Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. My sister has eczema so badly she can't wear any rings, and it's gotten because of disinfecting her hands so much.
Yes. Yes.
It's just made it like wickedly worse.
Yeah. And, and for me, it was a high pitta. So
Mm-hmm.
so it's fire and water. So high, and this is pitta season, summer.
Yes, it is.
All the heat. And so eczema in the type that I had was more of that type, and the Brahmi oil calms pitta. So it's pulling the heat out of your system so that decrease, and then the absence of the eczema is saying your pitta is better. That's how I'm interpreting it, because it's gone. It's completely gone.
It's just amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think Brahmi and ghee are tremendous tools in the proverbial toolbox to help our animals and to help ourselves. And I've become a raving fan of Brahmi oil. I can't imagine going an evening without it. And I understand what you mean about when you spend time working it into your own feet, it almost seems like, God, what a self-centered thing to do. And as I've told you, when you go back to ancient times, one of the most respectful things in many cultures was to anoint someone's feet with oil.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it's almost like a prayer. When I'm working the Brahmi in, I'm very filled with gratitude. And so it doesn't feel so self-indulgent. It feels more like self-care.
It is. It's a good description, Tigger. It is self-care. And what Finn has kind of shown me in this whole this time of recovering from his back injury, it's, taking care of all of these animals. I've got a lot of special needs animals. And, if we aren't taking care of ourselves, how are we going to take the best care of them? And it sounds so basic, but just taking 5 or 10 minutes to work on your own feet it changes perspective for a lot of things.
It does.
And especially because, you can do this with lotion or whatever, but it does not feel the same. Your mind does not feel the same. It's completely different experience. So,
I feel very zen. I feel everything at peace. I am not worried. I'm not all that goes away when I apply Brahmi to myself.
Right.
And I sleep great, and I have wonderful dreams. It really, it's a pretty amazing oil. So Lizzy, you have to come back and let us know what it's like to put it on one of your chickens, because I've got a hunch that one of your chickens is going to need Brahmi oil.
It better not be my rooster, is all I have to say. He's like 20 pounds. So
holy crow.
Yeah.
I put poultice on a chick when I was experimenting with our poultices before we brought them on the market. I would put them on the chicken's feet.
I remember this.
Yes, it was pretty funny. Well, thank you so much for coming on Healthy Critters, and thanks for sharing your adventures and being my compatriot in the the adventures in herbs and food and healing our animals. So thank you, Lizzy.
You. I appreciate it.
Hello, everyone. Are you there? You didn't get blown over or possibly crushed by a house?
Were worried.
Yeah, that would be Dorothy from the Oz.
That would be Dorothy.
Yeah.
So, Hedwig.
How may I help you?
Well, Hedwig, we want to know. At least 2 of the 3 people who hang out on this show a lot are a little bit obsessed with superheroes and superpowers and a little bit of magic here and there. So we wanted to know, what magical quality or superpower would Hedwig like to have?
Other than the extreme cuteness and charm with which I am already endowed?
Yeah, that doesn't count as superpower or magic.
Totally does if you're as amazing as me.
That's just a fact.
That's just a fact. That's right. That's not magic. That's just a fact.
That's a fact, Jack.
That's just a fact.
All right. Well, I think that I would like to be able to fly. Because then I would not need the jet that no one is purchasing me. And I would be able to go wherever I wanted, whenever I wanted. And I would be able to look down on everything from such a great height. And I would be able to carry snacks with me. And I would have a snack while I was flying. It would be amazing.
Would you be on a broomstick?
No, but thank you for asking, Tigger.
Oh,
how's your dog's face?
Oh, no. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
You know what doesn't happen to Pomeranians? Getting bitten by snakes.
Well, yeah, they're probably not too appealing to a snake. Actually, the vet said that it's the small dogs that they have to use anti-venin. They really, if they get bitten by a poisonous snake, they're in deep, deep, deep kimchi.
Well, right, but I am not going to go outside and wander about in a weird way. Aimless way.
It wasn't aimless. The snake was right outside the back door.
Well, just saying. Karma is difficult sometimes.
So Hedwig, in your power of flying, would you like to have the old school fly at a reasonably low altitude and take in the wonders of the earth? Or would you like to do a little bit more high-tech supersonic get from California to New York
like
in
Superman?
3.5 minutes?
Yeah.
Which one are you going for?
Apparition, like from Harry Potter. Want to be able to apparate.
You're going to apparate, are you?
Yeah.
And have a little flu powder.
No flu powder. That didn't sound as much fun.
Now,
you can't just go wherever you want. You have to go on the Flu Network. It would be much better to apparate.
Yeah, when you apparate, what color is your little swoosh going to be? Is it going to be that kind of
dark purple?
Is it going to be purple? Okay, because you have the Death Eaters; they're kind of black, and then you have
I'm totally not a Death Eater.
Dumbledore's kind of gray. So you're going with purple. I think that's a good choice. I agree with purple.
I do too.
Yeah. Before we go down the rabbit hole that is
a Harry Potter
fandom, thank you very much for your time this evening, Hedwig. And please,
and stay safe because you're in the hurricane winds and rain, and
you're being hurricaned upon. And keep your head down, okay?
I will. Thank you so much. Bye.
So we are at the Tigopedia section of our program, and I've had a lot of people recently ask me about dogs that are afraid of thunderstorms. And Tigger, I thought this was just a good thing to ask you, because I know that you really can provide some help for this.
There are a couple of different, one thing doesn't help all dogs. I'll say that right off the bat. So thunder shirts work for some dogs, don't help others at all. BioStar's Theracom Canine helps some dogs, doesn't help others. CBD helps some dogs, doesn't help others. So you kind of have to find what works for your dog. And the thing about an oral application like Theracom or CBD is the timing of it.
So that's been a big question that people have asked me is, the time frame in which you can give an oral application. And I know from my experience with my own family and my dogs that the Theracom work great, but can you give it again? What about the CBD oil? So how do you work that out?
So again, you've got to be a little bit of a experimenter. I can speak to both CBD and Theracom. You need to give them a good 30 minutes before the storm comes. Because if you give it when you hear the first thunder, you're too late. Because both those products are going to take 30 minutes. The CBD may be a slightly faster, but the dog is already in the cycle of stress. So,
but is it still at that point? Is it still good to give it?
It depends on how overwrought the dog gets.
So it's really it's okay. So some of that part can be a little bit trial and error.
Yes. And you can, let's just say it's a medium-sized dog and you give it two little Theracom cookies and it doesn't reduce the stress enough. You can give another one or two. Okay,
because that's good to know. Okay, and how about with CBD oil?
Same with the CBD.
Okay. And I don't know. I've only ever had one dog, and it was years ago that had trouble with storms. But my daughter and my son-in-law have a dog that really struggles, and they live in Florida with the storms coming in. And they have used Theracom, but they know the weather. They plan ahead.
Yeah.
And they give it to him ahead of time. It's really been a big deal. And I think that's the hardest thing in this is I have a very good friend that has a dog that developed problems later. I mean, she's 4 years old and now she's having problems with storms in the last 6 months. And I think the biggest thing is that when someone goes through this, so if I'm on top of the weather because I'm always thinking about horses going out and whatever, but a lot of people don't even really think about it. And I think that the difficulty is, how to prepare for it. And then once they're in the midst of it, then what, how you deal with it. Tigger, have you ever used the Thunder shirts?
I haven't had a dog that needed a Thunder shirt, but I do know people who have used the Thunder shirt and had good success with it and others that it didn't help. Yeah.
Okay. And so for the listeners that don't know what that is, it's kind of a compression.
Yeah. Suit.
It's a tight sweater.
Yeah, suit.
Yeah.
It's a tight sweater. Because Jen, you had some success with that, right?
Yes, we had a Thunder shirt for our second Greyhound, Glory, who was very much afraid of all loud sounds in the universe. And the Thunder shirt helped. But as Tigger mentioned earlier in the conversation, if we didn't put it on until the loud sounds were obvious to us, it was much less effective. It was one of those things that if we saw her walking around the house looking the tiniest bit worried, that means she heard the thunder already and we didn't, and we'd better get it on right away. And it did help. She got to the matter of fact, I think there's a little bit of classic conditioning in that she would get her Thunder shirt on and she would kind of go over to get it on. And I think its benefit was amplified because she had worn it many times before and associated it with feeling better to begin with. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And she also lived on Theracom because if we had extended thunderstorms, we're in Florida. So sometimes we'd have thunder for hours and hours and hours, or we would have loud music next door for many hours. We have a loud music next door. And then we would also give her Thunder shirt and her Theracalm.
Theracalm.
And
Okay.
it definitely helped. The Theracalm was that kind of thing that, okay, she was okay. She could suffer through with just the Thundershirt, but if it was for an extended period of time, it was the Theracalm too. And again, we had to get right on it. Don't wait until she's panting.
Yeah.
No.
But I think what's important to talk about is if it is an extended period of time that you can you can give more Theracalm, you can give more CBD
Absolutely.
oil.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that was the question that was presented to me is, what do I do if this doesn't work? And I guess, I think that's always going to be the biggest question for somebody is, can I overdo something? And that's the great thing about BioStar's products is that, you always have an outlet to find out these answers, but also, you can, is there is it ever too much? And that's the thing that I don't know. Like, is it ever like,
not that I know of.
If it's okay. That's good to know. So, cause I know a lot of people deal with this and it's a later onset for, some people in how to deal with this, but, I'd be very interested in knowing if any of our listeners have dealt with this and how they've handled this, with their own dogs, because it can be, you can be sleeping in the middle of the night and then have the dog can be completely, restless and unsettled. And how do you deal with it? And so I think these are a lot of good alternatives and some good answers. So thank you guys for helping with that.
No problem. So now we're at Critter Nutrition, and the topic today is soil microorganisms as probiotics. And one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this is that BioStar just released a new canine probiotic called Symbiota Canine, which includes the soil, beneficial soil microorganisms. So to understand this better, let's think about the role of dirt in a dog's life. Dogs love dirt, just like wolves do. They roll in the dirt, they dig in the dirt, they splash in muddy water, they drink from mud puddles. There are important health advantages to getting dirty and exposing the body system to soil-based microbes and fungi. Before the invention of commercial dog food, dogs were exposed to dirt through their food. Dogs ate scraps, hunted for small prey, and like humans, were constantly exposed to the bacteria in soils. Farm dogs and dogs that spend time in forests and fields hiking with their humans are exposed to the soil-based microbes and fungi, as well as the humic and fulvic acids that are the principal components of humus, peat, soil organic matter, and decayed organic matter. Dogs roll in dirt, which exposes their skin and hair biome to the microbes and fungi. They lick their muddy paws, transferring the soil microbes to their gut. Our present day sort of sterile living environments without exposure to many beneficial bacteria have led some researchers to link the rise in allergies in both humans and dogs to lack of bacterial diversity in the GI tract. Many dogs are not regularly exposed to healthy soils. Chemical fertilizers used routinely on lawns affect the microbiome of the soil itself. You may get a green lawn, but the soil itself is lacking important bacteria, fungi, and humic acids. Pesticide and herbicide applications affect the microbiome of the soil. A dandelion-free lawn often results in unhealthy soil because the beneficial bacteria are directly affected. Healthy soil is brimming with life. Healthy soil has bacteria, fulvic and humic acids, and fungi that all play a crucial role in plant and soil vitality. Those who grow organic food, be it home gardeners or farmers, know the absolute necessity of healthy soil and how to nourish it without harmful synthetic chemicals. Certain soil-based organisms are of the strain Bacillus. They work in concert in the soil to help plants thrive by metabolizing plant material, synthesizing vitamins, enzymes, antioxidants, and fighting pathogens. These beneficial strains also perform similar functions in the GI tract of mammals and humans. These specific bacillus strains support the beneficial bacteria in the gut, including lactobacillus and bifidus bacteria. Bacillus strains are resistant to the acids of the stomach and can survive intact in the small intestine and colon. This is unlike the lactobacillus and bifidus probiotic strains that are easily destroyed by gastric acids and need to be enteric coated or microencapsulated to make their way through the stomach to the small intestine and colon. Bacillus are not as sensitive to temperature as lactobacillus and bifidus and do not need refrigeration. Bacillus metabolize resistant dietary starches. These are known as postbiotics. Postbiotics have demonstrated anti-inflammatory activities and immunomodulatory functions. Bacillus strains of soil-based organisms are not only found in dirt and on plants, but also in fermented foods. Popular foods from around the world, such as the Japanese product natto, are full of these soil-based organism strains. Humic and fulvic acids are found in healthy soils like humus, as well as sediments, reed sedge peat, lignite, large bodies of water, and resin seeping through rocks. These organic acids, which support healthy plants, also support gut health of mammals and humans. Fulvic acids bind nutrients and transport them in the body. This action supports efficiency of digestion with less undigested nutrients. The result is firmer stools. Fulvic acid also supports homeostasis of the microbiome in the gut. Research has pointed to fulvic acid's ability to stabilize the tight junctions of the gut. These tight junctions are the gatekeepers regulating absorption of micronutrients. Dysfunction of tight junctions leads to increased gut permeability, which has been recognized as a step in the path of chronic inflammatory diseases such as IBD, which is inflammatory bowel disease. The inclusion of chaga mushrooms. Known in traditional Chinese medicine as the builder of qi, tonifies the kidneys, the spleen, and the liver. Chaga is also used as a Shen tonic. Shen is the spiritual radiance in every being. Shen resides in the heart, helping to maintain calmness and stability. Chaga is often used as a balancing, supporting, and regulating tonic. So BioStar's new canine probiotic formula, Symbiota, incorporates the probiotic soil-based organisms with fulvic and humic acids and chaga mushrooms. It's basically a replication of the ecosystem of healthy, vital, and nourishing soil. It's in a liquid, ensuring fast delivery. You can give it directly into your dog's mouth or add to your dog's food. Coming in September will be the equine version of Symbiota. And if you want to learn more about the soil microorganisms and how to make your own soil at home, in your lawn, in your pastures, healthier, we have a webinar on healthy soil on Tuesday, 7 p.m. August 11th. And it's a webinar. You can find out more at biostarus.com. Find us on Facebook. And we have a premier soil man, Kevin from New Country Organics, who has spent years and years studying and applying really basic tips on keeping the soil healthy. So maybe you don't need to use Symbiota. You can just let your dogs and horses roll in the dirt and eat the dirt a little, and you're taking care of their microbiome. So now we're at Coffee Klatch, and the question is, what superpower or magical quality would you give your horse or dog? I will start off with one of my dogs, Keen.
Okay, well, before you continue, though, for folks who are not regular listeners, tell us who Keen is.
Keen is my 10-month-old Australian Shepherd.
All right.
Puppy.
He's the puppy.
He's the puppy.
He's the puppy.
And he would very much like to have Superman's X-ray vision. Because
that's funny.
He really loves to track wild animals. And that includes squirrels, deer, raccoons. The problem is the sight of a dog doesn't always encompass things that blend in. So he told me that he would really like X-ray vision so that he could see those little critters and be able to go chase them off the farm.
So he wants to be able to spot them wherever they hide.
Yes. Yeah, he thinks Superman's X-ray vision is pretty cool power to have.
Interesting. Okay. How about you, Puppy?
Well, I have a lot of dogs to choose from. I was thinking about all of my animals, and the one that stuck out for me was Ketch, who is by the same breeder as Keen, and he is a almost 2-year-old Australian Shepherd, and he wants to be invisible. And he wants to be invisible because he wants to be invisible. And I was going to say the invisible cloak, but I was like, because I know some of like the whole Harry Potter stuff, but I'm not going to go there. But my point is that he would like to be invisible because he really every day of his life gets up and wants to be an incredibly good boy. But he's also 2, and he's kind of the youngest, and he like gets in a little bit of trouble, and he goes, "Oh, mom, I'm sorry. Like the minute you say, "Hey, what are you doing?" It's not, don't be doing that. He's like, "Oh, right. Sorry." So he's always trying to do the right thing. But I think that he would love to be invisible for just a moment in time,
so he could be naughty.
Yeah, and it's not bad naughty. It's not like real naughty. But he wants to go chase the deer, or he wants to sniff the tire. Or not come when I call him because his big thing right now is he likes to really smell things. So he would just like to be invisible so they can't actually find him doing the things that he really shouldn't be doing because he really doesn't want to be doing it because he wants to do the right thing because that's what mom wants. And so, yeah, he'd love to be invisible. Just for a minute.
Invisibility
not
cloak for him. No problem.
Yep.
Yeah. So it would be the cloak, right?
That's
that would
right.
Be the cloak
Yes, it would definitely be the cloak.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Who's proud of me?
Look at you. Impressive.
Right?
Now, I have to say that Buckaroo wants to be able to cast spells.
All of them? All the spells?
He wants to be a master spell. He wants his own wand.
He just wants to be a wizard, period, huh?
Yes, absolutely, because he has some very specific enemies he would like to address with some spells. That would be the coyotes, the hunting dogs that come through, and he'd like to see less of the FedEx guy.
Yeah, well, they're dumb. FedEx people are dumb, right? Yeah.
So, yeah, he would like to be able to cast some spells.
There we go. Maybe he's a squib. Maybe he really is a wizard and just doesn't have any powers.
I don't think so. And how about Nigel?
Nigel. One of his many nicknames is Big Lumbering Oaf. And Nigel would like to have the magical power to be light on his feet and dance like Gene Kelly.
Wow.
Oh, I love that.
Yes. He wants to be light and athletic and clever on his feet, but alas, he is not.
So Buckaroo needs to cast a spell on Nigel to make him light on his feet like Fred Astaire.
Yes, that's exactly what he does.
Oh, that's nice.
I like it. So we want to hear about what magical powers or superpower your horse or dog needs to have, and how can they tell us or wants to have. Doesn't need it; he wants it.
I was wondering also what magical powers they think they already have.
That's funny. Yeah. I think we should hear from folks and find out what their
that would be fun. So send us a postcard.
Yeah, what should they send it to?
1 Cleveland Street, Gordonsville, Virginia, 22942.
And by the way, if you're wondering, where can I get a postcard? Because, we don't have them sitting around anymore. Go to your local Cracker Barrel. They sell postcards there.
Ah.
Oh, wow.
You didn't know, did you?
I make my own.
Well, you could do that too. Instead of going out and purchasing a postcard, just take the envelope from your most recent auto insurance bill that you pay online, but they still send you a bill in an envelope. Take that envelope and address it to Tigger at BioStar US 1 Cleveland Street.
Yes, you could do that, but you can also, if you like to take pictures with your phone, you can go to Shutterfly and order little postcards of your favorite photo.
Of your horse with his superpower.
Yes!
I love it. I love it. Well, it's been another great show, everybody. Does our lovely guest, Lizzy Meyer, have a website or Facebook page where people can find her?
She does. She has a Facebook page, but not a website.
And do you know what that Facebook page is called?
Whole Horse Consulting.
There you go. Check it out. All right. We'll see you guys in a couple of weeks.
Okie doke.
Thanks for listening, everyone, and thanks to our sponsor, BioStar US. You can find them online at biostarus.com.
Get the Horse Radio Network phone app on iOS or Android by searching for Horse Radio Network in the App Store. It's free and easy to use.
For details about today's show, go to healthycrittersradio.com, where you can find links, photos, and more information about our guests.
As always, we love your feedback. Please follow us on Facebook under Healthy Critters Radio.
Be sure to visit all the great shows on Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com.
Love your dog.
Hug your horse.
Feed your chickens.
Clean your litter box.
Dance with your goat.
Slither with your snakes.
Howl at the moon.
Hang with your hamster.
Party with your parrot.
Waddle with your walrus.
Outwit your otter.
Cuddle your cows.
Rap with your raptor.
Go chipping with your chipmunks.
Forgive your fox.
While hedging your hog.
We also recommend that you rack with your raccoon.
Gyrate with your giraffe.
Meditate with a meerkat.
Uber with your orangutan.
Facebook with your flamingo.
Ponder with your panda.
Walk with your Wookiee.
Yawn with your yak.
Twitter with your toucan.
Go raining with your reindeer.
Dropbox your dragon.